Something I did want to move on to and get your opinion on, Nick, is the conversation going on around Afghanistan right now. Whether or not Joe Biden deserves credit for his move here, seemingly to end the war in Afghanistan. What's your take on that? I also wanted to react to a clip of Vaush in this regard. I know you have a history with Vaush, so I thought it would be fun to get your reaction to that. But before we do, what's your opinion?
So this is very interesting because I always said we should not be giving Biden credit because when they first said it was going to do this pullout of Afghanistan, this is what I cover on my show. They said they were still going to have funds that go to like covert CIA operations in Afghanistan, and they was open about this. Well, they said, yeah, we still going to reallocate funds to Afghanistan. So as a leftist, as an anti-imperialist, I'm like, that means you're not pulling out. Like to me, a pullout means you're out. You're not involved in that country no more. So I'm like, oh, if you're an anti-imperialist, you're not for that. So you can't get Joe Biden credit for that. But you had a lot of people that are repeating that nonsense. So it's going to be very interesting now to see if they actually follow through with that. We're going to be no covert operations. My guess is no chance. That's just my guess. I don't know why anyone would give the military-industrial complex the benefit of the doubt. Now, what I find interesting, now we got to do more analysis of the Afghanistan situation. We see the insane media backlash that coming towards Joe Biden, where they go after Joe Biden, because now they're actually messing with the war machine.
Yeah, to be honest, the media's reaction to this is the only reason why I kind of wanting to give Biden a little bit of credit, because it does seem like the media is just totally freaking out. Do you see that too?
Yeah. They just want to ramp up. They just want to manufacture consent towards the war, but they always build narratives. So what I mean by that is the narrative right now is that the squad is for defund the police. The squad is not for defund the police. They coordinated the vote to fund the police more. So they always do this thing where they will just want to frame a narrative because they need the narrative to be this way. They need to go at Biden for even hinting at dropping the war machine, even though he may have covert operations. They never mention that part because they got to round the messages out. Period. You cannot resist the war machine. But look at how out of touch they are. The media is melting down about the thought about going out of Afghanistan. But if you ask the average person, they want us out. That's the media disconnect that they have. They want us out of Afghanistan. Now, people are trying to act surprised, like this is something that we didn't know it was coming. I'm telling you guys, the Taliban would have took hold if they pulled out 2016, 2012, like this, everyone knew it was going to happen. So the media is actually lying to you about this. Like they'll say, "Oh, this is just an intelligent error." Now, it's more than that, and you notice. And the reason why I bring up Biden is being attacked by media because it's very important. Why are they going after Biden? Why and only Biden? Because he's the figurehead. He's the puppet in the suit. You know what they're not saying? They are not outlining how the Pentagon and the military lied about this war literally for the last 15 to 20 years. They're not calling out the generals. Why there's not calls for the mainstream media for generals to resign in shame? Because their mission was to build up Afghan security forces and defense forces so they can fight the Taliban on their own. So as soon as they pull it out, the Taliban takes over immediately. That means what the hell were you doing?
Yeah, I think that's the most embarrassing thing about this is just how quickly our quote unquote project crumbled. Like literally within hours, 20 years worth of imperialism just crumbles immediately. It doesn't even, it's like a house of cards.
Yeah, and like Julian Assange, he said himself that there was never a mission in Afghanistan, and Afghan papers revealed this. Well, you had generals, they had no idea what they was doing there. They had no idea who their targets was. They was killing peasants. They were just calling them hostile forces, and it was like
guarding poppy fields.
So these are not this is not the analysis you're getting on the corporate media. So what was the Afghan war? So the fact that we didn't build any Afghan security forces, we wasn't ready for this. That means it was literally just a funnel of money. You had literally the military industrial complex invested into opium poppy fields, and they're not even denying that. And I've covered this on Hampton Leftists. You've seen a sharp increase in opium production ever since they got into Afghanistan. That's what the war is about. It's about it's literally a giant grift, and this is why we gotta change the narrative. So once again, I tell you how the media covering it, but they still getting it wrong. They are still getting it wrong in their messaging. Their messaging even now is the same propaganda because they're not even describing the problem correctly. Afghanistan was a grift. Everything is a class war. It literally was a way to funnel taxpayer money to the weapon contractors whose stocks went up by 1,000% ever since the start of the Afghanistan war, which we covered before. So
yeah, which is one of the things that and I agree with one you're saying. If I can just jump in really quickly, as far as the money machine is concerned, right? Obviously, I think that objectively, we all agree as an anti-imperialist podcast that we should not be in fucking Afghanistan, right? So as far as like giving, you want to sign that as like credit, like yes, we should not be in Afghanistan. I think Biden should pull our troops out of Afghanistan. The disagreement that I think that is occurring between a lot of the lefty commentators is whether or not you want to remind people and put at the forefront of your commentary the fact that there's still going to be, I believe, the when I was first reading about this, something like 18,000 private military paramilitary officials that will still have access and be doing missions and then in Afghanistan over the next period of time. And that number may have decreased. I know he recently sent back 3,000 troops that are supposed to be temporary, and those were real American troops that were supposed to be helping people escape from Kabul. But you do make a good point about how the media is, melting down about this, specifically because the media wants the war machine to continue to grow. And I guess my next question for you after that would be, where do you think that Biden is going to pivot this energy? Because we know that the military-industrial complex doesn't slow down; it only changes its target, right, and wreaks more destruction. Do you think that we're going to see a ramp up in military conflict in places like Somalia, where Joe Biden has already dropped a lot of bombs kind of covertly? The media hasn't been talking about that. It's like focusing on, oh my gosh, Joe Biden is ending the war over here, but let's not forget about this country that he's bombing the shit out of.
Zach.
Oh, Cuba.
Yeah, that's such a good point, Zach, and I'm so glad you brought it up, because that's what we covered on. I covered that on my show as well, because I remember I posed a question around the time when Biden first announced he's going to pull out Afghanistan. I'm like, okay, I don't know why you guys are celebrating, because if we point out Afghanistan, why we're increasing the military budget? So considering that Afghanistan is a significant investment, you would think that if we actually plan on ramping down the U.S. war machine, that we would reduce our military budget and then we will pull out Afghanistan. So that's why I love that you brought that point up, Zach, because it's such a brilliant point. Because even if they do get out of Afghanistan, we still need to go hard against U.S. imperialism, because they plan on ramping that up into other places. Well, Jen Psaki actually answered a question as well, because at a press conference, she said that, we need to have the investment that's going to Afghanistan to go towards our fight against China. So they are open about this. Like, they don't even hide their war hawkishness. Now, what happened in Afghanistan, everything that's going on, is 100% a tragedy. And this is why us as leftists, especially as people with platform, we need to make sure we do not lift our foot off the boot of U.S. imperialism. Yes, I'm sorry to say, guys, the soldiers that died in Afghanistan, they did die for no reason. Now, that's hard to say, but we got to repeat the point, because we need to end the nonsense of U.S. imperialism. Things in Afghanistan has gotten worse since they got there. They want to pretend that they got there for feminist reasons, but women, they literally, the amount of doctors they have, the amount of teachers, the literacy rate has decreased significantly since the United States occupation of Afghanistan. So things have gotten worse. There was actually a reporting that was done that 9 out of 10 Afghans say they live in a horrible existence right now. That pretty much they reporting the fact that we are screwed. And that was in 2019, 19 years into the occupation of Afghanistan. So the idea that we are actually doing well if we were to stay, that we will have good intentions, that's nonsense. We need to stop thinking like that, because there's still people that are like kind of imperialists, and they still believe that the United States is involved somewhere that's actually inherently good. That's not.
The women and children.
And like I said, Nick, I want to get your response to this clip that's gone semi-viral on Twitter. Vaush discussing the Afghanistan situation. I think he's just so full of dog shit takes, especially when it comes to foreign policy. And again, I know you've debated Vaush and had some interactions with him, so I thought it'd be fun to react to this together. It's a pretty short clip, but let's take a look.
Now, I want to be clear about this. The thing that's frustrated me is that a lot of people on the left pretend that us pulling out of Afghanistan would be a good thing. Like, that the Afghan people are, like, just waiting to yearn and breathe free to remove the American occupation. Make no mistake, the American occupation was relatively small and relatively cheap, all things considered.
So yeah, you got any reaction to that, Nick?
This is why my friend Max Blumenthal called him Vaush Limbaugh. And like, that's on point, because you have these, and you notice that it's these same people, these Biden bros, the same, and this is what I was laying out, and this is what I was talking to him about as well. I'm like, You know, it's the same people that demanding people to vote for Joe Biden. These are people who are weak on foreign policy. They don't care about foreign policy. They don't care the fact that Joe Biden is responsible for destabilizing the Middle East. They don't care that Joe Biden is responsible for destabilizing the global South and he support all the covert operations in the global South. These are the kind of things that don't even come into the calculation when they decide, oh, whether should I vote for these people or not. The standing of the Palestinian people. These are the kind of thing that they don't even think about because foreign policy is not their forte. That's not what they care about. They are just wealthy suburbanite white people like Vaush is who are class loyal. They care about maybe saving some money on healthcare. Maybe they want to increase in wage. These simple things. But when it comes to actually standing up against the national security state and the police state, they are silent. Or they just accept CIA talking points. Now, this is the thing. This is the caucasity that I would never be able to get away with. How can you be that wrong and that confident and arrogant?
I know.
And this guy Vaush, he convinced people that he's right just by saying wrong ass shit with confidence. He just said that the occupation and Afghanistan was cheap. It costs $300 million a day, $2 trillion overall. Like he just says that in the Zoomer audience that watch him. They think he's telling the truth because he says it in a confident way. You guys realize it's the same guy. He had a debate with Charlie Kirk, the two white dudes debating critical race theory, and then Charlie Kirk pressed him on reparations. And the left position, the guy who was supposed to be on the left, said, "Oh, I don't think we should pay reparations based on race, but based on class." What? That's not reparations. That's a UBI. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's what he said. That was the left position in the right versus left debate against Charlie Kirk. And once again, this is why you don't have two white dudes talking about critical race theory, because reparations is a debt owed. But he said it with confidence, and I had Vaush fans like, "Whoa!" They were trying to repeat the same thing he did, but they don't have the confidence, and that's why Vaush fans are like a meme because they repeat what he said, but they don't have the confidence, so they sound dumb.
Yeah, no, you're so right, though. He says the dumbest shit so confidently, and this is a perfect example of that. I couldn't believe when I heard him say this has been a relatively inexpensive occupation when, like you just pointed out and like I just put on screen, the war in Afghanistan has cost us $300 million per day for 20 years. So you can do the math. I would not call that inexpensive. I can't fucking believe that.
Let me tell you all the shit, Vaush, that we could have if we didn't go to war in Afghanistan. We could have eradicated consumer debt. I'm not talking about medical debt and college debt and all of the debt that I think I can, with iron fucking clad, argue that it should not be a weight on the American people, right? But I'm talking about we could abolish the debts of everybody that got fucked on everything. Every time anybody got scammed out of their credit card money, anytime anything, we could have wiped the slate clean for all those people. We could give everybody health care. We could give everybody free college. We could fix our fucking roads, Vaush. I know you drive around fucking Beverly Hills or some shit where I imagine it's not cobblestone, but I get a fucking flat tire 3 times a week driving around Jackson County. I know you know what I'm talking about, Nick. Fucking potholes everywhere. So this is the kind of horseshit that we could be dealing with as a society. We cannot have the fucking same level of train transportation as Uzbekistan. Okay, that's where our fucking our train infrastructure levels are like a fucking second world post fucking Soviet country, right? I mean, come on, guys. But this was cheap, right? This was a worthwhile investment, right? Because the people of Afghanistan wanted us there, after all. Those people, what do you think? They're going to breathe a sigh of relief when their fucking American occupiers leave? Oh, gosh, no. People love repression. That's why I'm an anarcho-syndicalist, because I believe in ironclad repression, because I'm fucking fun. This is just the bullshit. This is like the most cringy neoliberal shit. This is like the new breed. I'm going to call it neo-progressivism, because I think that's exactly what Vaush embodies, this neo-progressivism where he takes all of the energy and all the young people, like you said, Nick, the Gen Zers who don't watch the Vanguard, they watch Vaush instead, and then they kind of just get, because he's a really good debater, right? He is confident in his ideas. He has this like mic presence down. I think that's why he's able to sustain an audience, because he convinces people of his horseshit. Kind of like Rush Limbaugh, right? That guy was a fucking jackass moron, but he convinced so many fucking people crazy shit, right? Because he could sound confident on the air, and people have a tendency to, fucking be susceptible for that. Like, that's why Hitler put a fucking radio in everybody's home, because he was a powerful man. He was feeding them all a bunch of bullshit. But yeah, not to compare Vaush to Hitler, though. That's his fucking favorite thing to do to everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, like he just say stuff and it's like blatantly wrong, but he say it confidently and people will believe him. Because I talked to him, I was on the show, we had our little debate whether we should vote for Joe Biden. Well, I just got mad because he was just more irritating more than anything. And it's like, you guys understand that his argument was, if we all fall in line for Joe Biden, that means the Democratic Party would be more receptive to our messaging. How has that gone for you guys? and then he quoted Biden's platform on his show, and I'm like, bro, I don't care about Biden's platform. He was trying to make it a big got you. He's like, oh, you don't know Biden's platform? I'm like, no, because he's not gonna do it. And who was right? I was right. He literally was like, yo, if you don't know his platform, how are you not gonna want to vote for him? You don't know his platform. I'm like, because he's not gonna do it, you idiot. And guess what? Who was right? Like, this is why we are growing at Friend This is why we have grown, because people thought we were just saying stuff, but it's been proven true. And now the progressives sold us out. Vaush, people like these people sold us out to the police state, because the Democrat Party is running on a giant police state budget in 2022. And Jen Psaki said it herself. She said that Joe Biden ran on giant police budgets, expanding military budgets, these kind of things, and he won. So they was given a mandate to continue to expand those things. This is what I was trying to explain to him and his audience. I'm like, I was like, bro, if you vote for Joe Biden with no ass, he is not going to listen to you. But their audience was convinced.
Yeah, and not only did he not listen to us, he literally spit in the left's face over and over again at every chance he had. I mean, the response to the George Floyd protest movement was to pick fucking Kamala Harris as VP. A massive slap in the face to the defund movement, to the anti-racist movement, the anti-police movement. It's crazy. And I think it's worth pointing out, too, that Vaush's take here is so bad that it even makes some of the mainstream hosts look decent in comparison. I think it was Nicole Wallace on MSNBC that said like 95% of the public will agree with the decision to pull out of the war in Afghanistan, but 95% of the media will disagree. And that was actually accurate. You know, one of the few actually accurate thing that's ever come out of Nicole Wallace's mouth on MSNBC. She was dead right. But Vaush is making her look good in comparison. His take is so bad in this regard. So I just think it's worth pointing out just how degenerate this fucking commentary is.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because we already have people like Kyle and Crystal legitimize him, but I just don't understand, because every time I see one of these takes, it's just some imperialist nonsense. And he made like his popularity out like attacking tankies, attacking people to the left. You're a rich white dude from Beverly Hills, and you spend all your time just punching left. I mean, he had these nonsense debates with like right wingers, but you're not converting people to the left. You're converting people to Vaush fans and Biden voters. That's exactly what there's no left thought here. It's just, oh, we got to follow the line of the Democrat Party. That's essentially what these people do. They only go as far left as the Democrat Party allows them to go far left. But
yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot more of Vaush is more into the, intellectual chokehold. Like I don't know. I always just feel like he's got so much of that debate me, bro, energy that he kind of just goes wherever he thinks he can build like a logical kind of like fucking wall or fortress, and that's kind of how he develops his takes. But yeah, I mean, I don't know though. He could just, I mean, he does seem to be consistently a lot more like pro-imperialism than I always am. But anyway, yeah, Vaush is just kind of the Vaushmeister. You know what I mean? He's just like a fucking cringy part of the internet that we only really engage with because he's got such a fucking massive following, guys. Like it's crazy to me that so many people listen to this guy, and so it's worthwhile to debunk his shit because while there are, like you said, like 10 million people out there trying to dunk on Tucker Carlson because yeah, okay, he's fucking stupid. Like I don't agree with fucking Tucker Carlson's politics, but that's like a whole fucking massive industry of corporations that are already doing that, right? Like we need to have people who are actually providing that level of like analysis or scrutiny towards the independent left, and I feel like you just don't get that, and because of that, it allows people to be kind of brought back to the middle.
Yeah, and when I had a video where I was breaking down horrible Vaush. I think it was on Syria. I don't actually remember which one it was, but it was like a month ago. But I had to emphasize like, yo, this is not about drama. This is about the issue. Because I actually I don't like the whole beef thing, and there are a lot of people out there that was trying to create beef with Friend and Leftists. Like that kind of, I'm like a nerd. I'm not trying to do this. The only reason I'm calling him out because this guy got a platform and he just misleading you guys. Like no matter what you say, him saying the Afghanistan war is cheap, that's him lying to you. And he does it with confidence. Is he going to come out and retract that? I doubt it. Because I honestly try my best to get things right to my audience. I don't want to mislead them, but it's to him, it's all about brand. And that's the debate me, bro, nonsense that they have. It's just about the brand. It's not about anything else. And that's kind of what I learned. That's what, like, these debates is kind of just waste, got you stuff, where it's not about understanding. It's about yelling and trying to see who's the most charismatic or whatever. So, as someone who actually cares about these issues and actually someone who's very serious about liberation of his people, these like all this stuff is just a waste of time. Like in terms of like what they actually bring to the table. Like,
so you're not going to debate Vaush again, is what I'm hearing.
Hey, I want to play. The thing is, after we had a debate, because it was a shit show. It was us yelling.
I know, bro. I watched.
I 100% admit that I probably should have handled that better because I let him get me mad. I'm like, like I didn't like a lot of people don't understand. There wasn't really a conversation between us, like how it was gonna go. He was like, "Hey, you want to come on?" I'm like, all right, come whatever. And he started insulting me, and I'm like, "Bro, you don't talk to me." So I got mad, and people were like, "Oh, Nick just didn't want to have a conversation." I'm like, "No, I'm not gonna have a conversation with a guy when he just come on and start insulting me."
He was being rude as fuck. Yeah.
In hindsight, I probably should have been cool because his points was bad. His point about why we should vote for Biden, I had been proven right historically. About why I was right on this, because he was calling the platform that he didn't do any of that on. He said that the Democrat Party, he said the Karens will be more receptive to our movement when that's the exact opposite. They don't care about kids in cages now that Biden's in charge anymore. Yeah. So I should have been calm if I would critique myself, because I am very honest. If I would have calmed down, if I would breathe, I would have dissected his arguments. But I allowed myself to get into the shouting match and like whatever, and that's exactly what he wanted. He wanted to make it like a shouting.
Well, to your credit, man, he had a lot more experience debating than you did. I mean,
I wasn't even like a youth. Like people don't understand.
Yeah, I know, right? You were just like kind of a Twitter personality at that point, right?
Yeah, like I wasn't even in the game, and once again, it wasn't even like a conversation about what we're going to talk about. But my thing is like, how is it a debate when I'm not really debating the point? And this is what I actually said during the debate, because it's supposed to be a debate whether we should vote for Joe Biden or not. And I'm like, I'm not trying to debate that, because my stance always was, I don't care who you vote for. But you're not going to tell us who we're going to vote for and lie about with Joe Biden. Yeah. So he was getting mad at us, because that's where the whole debate started, because he got mad at us because we want to vote for Joe Biden. So I'm like, bro, we're black. Why the fuck would we vote for Jim Crow Joe? So I came on the show like, all right, explain to me why I should vote for Joe Biden, not me explain to you why you got to vote for Joe Biden. A lot of people misunderstand that. Like, I wasn't trying to convince anyone. So is it really a debate? I wanted to hear him out, but he started yelling and insulting me. So I'm like, there's nothing to talk about here. So I got mad, and honestly, I would handle that differently if I came back at it now, because a lot of people were just stuck on the tone. But and even when they bring, I'm like, bro, outside the tone, what was I say that was wrong? Everything he said was proven wrong. We like, oh well, if you look at Biden's platform, none of the platform that he did. He said if the progressive movement support the Democratic Party, they'll be more receptive towards progressive change. That has not happened. They actually expanded the ICE camps. They running on pro police in 2020. They had shifted to the right because they know they have progressive votes and they have the white suburbanite vote locked down. So everything he said was proven wrong. It just he know how to play the debate game, and that's why I think it's mostly a waste of time now. But my point was, the reason I said that, because I said, hey, yo, I probably shouldn't have got that mad, but if you want to do the debate again, I can be calm, we can be rational. Let's have a moderator, let's do it. He said no. He said everything you need to know.
Yeah, we still at some point might debate Vaush. I have no idea what's going on with that, but it might happen.
It just doesn't bring anything to value.
I don't know what the fuck to debate him on. Like,
like what was I supposed to do? I was supposed to like convince him to vote for Joe Biden. Like, what was my win condition? Like, there was no like my point is, I'm gonna back up why I'm not voting for Biden. That's why I did. Everything that I said was proven true. I'm like, bro, I'm not voting for a guy who did more damage to the black community than anyone. He's still continuing to do that. He's still expanding the oppressive states that you guys say you was resisting under Trump. So Vaush and his crew, they pretend they are against Trumpism, but they are not against Trumpism, because Trumpism is the expansion of police states. That is the supporting of the apartheid state in Israel, because that's what really matters, what he did. Like Trump, the random syndrome was nonsense, but there was some legit stuff that Trump did. When I see his crackdown against free speech and the free press, that is Trumpism, and Biden is expanding that, and that is my point.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what they always do, right? They always take a super fucking disgusting ass piece of shit Republican president. He does a bunch of horrible shit, and then they rehabilitate all that same horrible fucking shit with the president after him. George Bush did a bunch of horrible fucking shit, getting us into illegal wars, but when Obama comes in and does it as a Democrat, then it's all good. Donald Trump comes in and does a bunch of horrible shit as an odious fucking Republican. That's fucking terrible. Then the Democratic media just comes ahead and rehabilitates all that shit with Joe Biden because he's a Democrat, but he's doing all the same shit. You're right on the money.
Well said. One last thing I want to say on the Vaush thing. I think this will say everything. I think, and a lot of people have been calling him out as being anti-black. Well, you guys understand that I went on his show and during our debate, when I was trying to calm down, kind of like, all right, maybe I'm getting too mad here or whatever. I point blank asked him. I said, "Do you think black people should vote for your oppressors?" He said yes. At that point, I mentally checked out. As a white privileged dude from Beverly Hills telling black people that they should vote for their oppressors and expect nothing to get better, and I'm supposed to accept this? How is that winning the debate? He just told black people to shut the fuck up and fall in line. That's what he was telling us. So once again, the debate bros, that format, it doesn't bring any value. I could, and I'll admit that I should have been more calm-headed and more tactical in my approach. I just more went ballistic at him, and I don't think that was effective. I admit that, but at the end of the day, my arguments were sound, and what he was saying was ridiculous. The idea that black people should shut up and vote for their oppressors no matter what, because what is he essentially saying? He wants us to vote for our oppressors to save his privilege. That